Testing 1 2. Testing. Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to Unity Orlando. Our opening statement this morning is God is inside me and guides my way through every moment of every day. Let's all affirm that together. God is inside me and guides my way through every moment of every day. All right, let's all close our eyes and take a nice deep breath in. Let's affirm that together in the silence. And so it is. And now if you'd like to stand and help us sing our joy song this morning, it's called Light of the World. We are the light of the world, raising the vibration. Peace be with light, to be with light now, raising the consciousness. We are the light of the world, raising the vibration. Peace be with light, to be with light now, raising the consciousness. We are the light of the world, raising the vibration. Peace be with light, to be with light now, raising the consciousness, raising the vibration, raising the consciousness, raising the vibration. All right, thank you. You may be seated.
Good morning, everyone. I am Carol, your platform speaker today. Yes, I know I don't come up here very often, but here I am. Do we have any visitors here for the first time? Would you mind raising your hand if you are? Okay, everyone's here. If you're new at home, we welcome you and we thank you, and we thank everyone for being here this morning. Just a very brief few announcements. Prayer chaplains are available to pray with you every Sunday after service. They also pray every evening at 8 p.m. and invite you to join them. The March affirmation is, I am an eternal being of light. And the chaplains who are here this morning are Susan and Paul, who, as you will see, are very busy during the service. And so I would like to, before I move on, let you know that Susan is our speaker today. And I have known Susan for several years, and she is a wonderful woman. I've been on some class with her, and very wise, very gentle human being. And it is a pleasure and an honor for me to know you, Susan, and her talk today is our second sight. But before I turn it over to Brian, I do have a little story to tell you. A young man wanted to invite his girlfriend over to the farmhouse, but was embarrassed by the old-fashioned outdoor outhouse. He kept bickering with his dad about getting a modern, new indoor plumbing, but the old-timer would not give in. Out of sheer desperation, he slips out one night and with a huge shove, pushes the entire outhouse down the hill. The outhouse was still intact, but when it reached the bottom, he knew that it would be too damaged to drag it up with a winch. Next morning at breakfast, his father asked him if it was he who destroyed the outhouse. and at the same time reminded him of the story of George Washington and the cherry tree. Yes, Dad, it was me. I'm glad you're so honest, the dad said. And as punishment, you have to start digging the pit for a new one immediately. But Dad, when George Washington admitted it was he who cut down the cherry tree, his father didn't punish him. And his father said, yes, you're right, but George's father wasn't in the cherry tree. And over to the rest.
Wait. John's behind you.
All right. Great. Thank you, Carol. Keeping up the good work there with the stories. All right. Here's a song. It's kind of amazing. I didn't have a dream one night, and I woke up with this song in my head, and it's called I Had a Dream. Dream about a life I called my own, and it was real as a dream could ever feel. It was full of magic, and it was full of a great society. It had a mirror, a way to look inside of me. I had a dream about the future days to come. It was a sight, and it was full of a bright lit sunlight, and all the people, they had a way to communicate. It was like no other place I've ever seen. And for the very first time, my dreams became the truth. And as the angels climbed my focus, it came into view. I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream. It had a sun that shined across the sky for me. I reached for peace, and I grabbed a part of humanity, and then the whole world changed for the better, and then I got my plea. And for the very first time, my dreams became the truth. And as the angels climbed my focus, it came into view. I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream. I had a dream.
Oh, wow, Brian. Thank you for that. Beautiful. Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Francis. I'm not your platform speaker. I was about to say that. I'm your speaker today. I hope everyone's doing well. Came out on a chilly morning. It was like 40-some degrees when we left this morning. Welcome online as well. Today, I want to talk about another superpower, because I'm into those, and it's intuition, or second sight, your second sight. So have you guys ever felt or heard something that tells you to do or act in a certain way, and it turns out to be the right decision? Or have you ever had the feeling that something is off, something's not quite right? Or have you had the answer to a question in your head before the question's even asked? Well, that's actually your intuition. So, for example, last month, I was walking my daughter's German Shepherd. He's kind of headstrong. His name is Thunder. That says it all. That name was given to him when he was a baby, but he grew into it for sure. So I was walking him at our home, and I had come back from our walk. Our usual routine is that I come into the house through our main garage, the big garage door. And I usually take the leash off and let him wander around while I take the poop bags out the back. I don't like those inside the garage. And so just as I'm reaching down to unhook his leash, I hear the words, "No, keep the leash on." So I know better not to argue with my intuition. And so I listened, and I kept the leash on. And just as I had him next to me, and as I was putting the poop bags out and closed the door, I hear a car pull into our driveway. I'd never seen the car before. And a man I'd never met before came out of the car and started walking up the driveway. So it was perfect because Thunder was under my control. Otherwise, the flower delivery man would have been running down the street with Thunder at his heels. So I'm so grateful and thankful that I listened. In this slide, it comes from the book of Job, 38:36. It says, "God gives intuition to the heart and instinct to the mind." Okay? So intuition is defined as a sudden, unexplained feeling that overcomes us. It's often described as an innate ability to perceive or know truths that go beyond logic and reason and sensory perception. Intuition can be referred to, people call it a sixth sense, a gut feeling, a hunch, a second sight, an internal guidance system, an inner wisdom. And intuition is the mysterious force of spirit that guides and informs us and protects us. It's a type of knowing, without knowing why we know something. It implies that it's an inner wisdom beyond what our conscious mind can process. I also like to think of it as our heart voice, and that'll become evident as I talk a little further. We all possess this superpower. We all possess intuition. But often we don't take the time to listen closely enough to hear the message. We often ignore the subtle whispers that go with more external, we often will go with the external forms of information. Sometimes it goes beyond rationality. One has to be open to things that we cannot explain by science or reason. And it offers a bridge between the physical and the mystical, or often people call it an inner voice or a higher voice. In order to use this intuitional power, we must trust our gut and our inner knowing. With practice, we can learn to tune in to that, and this intuition can benefit every aspect of your life. It's your soul's guidance, and it's a way, again, of being led by the heart. When you're tapped into your intuition, you're always receiving guidance through synchronicities, insights, downloads, and inspiration. And this information makes your life flow quite easy, and it will let you experience the pleasures of life and the abundance that God has for all of us. Intuition isn't just a spiritual phenomenon, but it does have scientific aspects as well. There are many studies out there on intuition, and there is growing evidence that suggests that all humans, of course, are born with this basic ability to have intuitive thinking, as we get older, links between the mind and emotional processing and intuitive thinking get stronger with experience, so we can get better at it. Of course, if you fail to listen, if you don't listen, that connection, that channel that comes through will weaken and decline. So if you find yourself saying, I don't have intuition, perhaps you might rethink that and start to go within. I'll give you some tips on that. Back to science, though. Scientific America's Daniel Kahneman, who happens to be a Nobel Prize winner, he says that we have two different systems of thinking. System one is fast and intuitive, and system two is slower and relies more on reasoning. Scientist Camilla Maluska says intuition is experience and knowledge that people gathered over a course of our lives, and intuition is the ability that can be trained and can play a constructive role in decision making. It's also been scientifically proven that intuition is a powerful tool for making decisions. According to research at the Max Planck Scientific Institute in Germany, people tend to make better decisions when they rely on their gut instinct rather than solely relying on facts and logic. Many scientists and researchers are now referring to intuition as the highest form of intelligence we possess. And we didn't have to do anything to get it, right? We didn't have to go to university. We are born with it. Even the US military is investigating intuition and has training programs for their soldiers to develop it further. In other words, intuition is no longer limited to the woo-woo, as we like to say, or mysticism. It's increasingly being seen as a legitimate way to make judgments and decisions. Both Albert Einstein and Steve Jobs used intuition in their work. In this slide, as Einstein himself puts it, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant but has forgotten the gift. And in the next slide, Steve Jobs, the founder, of course, of Macintosh or Apple, once put it, don't let the noise of others drown your inner voice. Intuition is a powerful thing, more powerful than intellect, in his opinion. That's had a big impact, he says, on his work. So as we've seen, both these brilliant men have changed our world. Intuition is often associated with the right side of the brain, which is responsible for creativity, imagination, music and artistic talents, and emotions. Whereas the left side of the brain, on the other hand, is connected to more logic and reasoning and critical thinking. We tend to favor the left side of the brain over the right in the Western world. But really, intuition it starts in the heart. Then it's sent up to the mind, instantaneously. There are actual studies that show that when you get an intuitive hit, your heartbeat actually changes. So why should we follow our intuition? Our lives really should be about growth and expansion, creativity, and being in the flow. In fulfilling our soul's purpose, we want to be aligned with that purpose, and intuition is the key to that. Logic is based on the past and what we already know, but intuition sees things that the mind and logic can't. When we trust it, as I said before, synchronicities and unexpected occurrences happen more frequently. We begin to be in the flow of life, and we find that people are more helpful, experiences are more aligned, and our life is full. And we become, when our life is full, more joyful and fulfilled. In this slide, from the author of this book called Blink, how many people have seen or read this book? The gentleman that wrote the book, his name is Malcolm Gladwell, and he says, insight/intuition is not a light bulb that goes off in our heads. It's a flickering candle that can be easily snuffed out. So what he's saying is it can be delicate and it can disappear if you don't pay attention to it. So I have a couple signs that you might not be paying attention to your intuition. Okay, so one of the signs is that you might feel like your life is challenging and you're pushing your life uphill. It's a struggle. You might have physical pain, sickness, and anxiety. That shows you might be ignoring your intuition. Sometimes something feels off. You sense something, but you go ahead and ignore it. Another sign that you're ignoring your intuition is that you trust others' guidance over your own. You feel disconnected, uninspired. You also live in your head and you second guess everything. You might feel like an imposter. And you often end up in the same unwanted situations over and over again. In this slide coming up, Malcolm, the same gentleman I referred to before, says that there can be as much value in the blink of an eye, hence the name of his book, as in months of rational analysis. So getting in touch with your intuition is a tuning in of frequency and vibration, but this will be done through the heart, okay? So there are some common ways that your intuition is going to communicate to you. I'm going to give you some ideas of how do you know it's my intuition or not? Maybe it's my emotion. So the first category is feelings and sense impression. So you might, when you have an intuitive hit, start to feel some body sensations like your skin starts to tingle. You might feel heat. You might sense warmth around your heart. You might get goosebumps. How many people have had goosebumps? Almost all of us, feeling uncertain or knowing something. You might get butterflies in your stomach. You might have feelings of joy, peace, excitement, or uncertainty. And these may arise to help guide you to your decisions. Some other feelings you might have is that when something doesn't feel right, you may have that gut feeling, that feeling in the pit of your stomach, or tightness in your chest, or, this is a big one, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, right? Warning, warning. There might be a nudge or a magnetic pull you're feeling as well. Another category of common ways that your intuition is talking to you is through auditory signs and voices. You might hear internal voices that offer guidance and insight, often appearing as words in our mind, or you might physically hear those words. You might hear a strong no from within, and that's exactly what I heard when I was dealing with thunder. I heard those words, no, don't take the leash off. You might also have auditory impressions such as ringing tones or chimes in your head that might have a significance to you. You might hear a song pop in your head as well that has meaning for you. Another category is visual images and symbols. You might see symbols, pictures, or images appearing out of nowhere, like a dream, or something that snags you and catches your eye. A license plate right in front of you with the words you need to see. Another category is thoughts without source. Unexplained ideas pop into your mind out of the blue. And I find this very significant. So if something comes to you completely out of the blue, I urge you to pay attention to that. There is a very distinct reason for that. It could be an idea for an invention. It could be a scientific experiment that you've figured out the formula to. It could be inspiration. I've got Brian over here who is always inspired and uses his intuition writing songs. The perfect chorus could pop in your head. So it's pretty cool phenomenon. The last one I'll discuss category is dreams. Sometimes we can have intuitive dreams. And these dreams and messages come to us when our conscious mind is relaxed, the filters are down, and our thinking mind is out of the way because our thinking mind wants to argue with our intuition all the time. So cultivating your intuition, it does take time and practice, and sometimes the process might go against your long-held beliefs or habits. If you're very scientific-minded or regimented left-brained, this is a whole new world for you to be open to your intuition. But with enough patience and determination, you can learn to listen to your intuition in any situation. No one has to know what you're doing. And it's all about trusting yourself in the process So, keep at it. In this slide from the Bible, Isaiah 30:21, it says, whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. And then the next slide is from Unity's own author, Florence Scovel Shinn. She says, intuition is a spiritual faculty and does not explain, but simply points the way. So I have a couple ideas for you to how we're going to get connected to our intuition. And the first one is you need to get in touch with your body sensations and out of your head. You need to learn what it feels like to get deep in touch with this body in a calm, everyday environment. This will help you discern the difference between intuition and emotions and feelings like, fear or anxiety. Start by listening deeply and being mindful of any feelings and sensations that come up. Learn to feel your heartbeat. Put your hand over your chest. Practice this, feeling what your heart feels like when it's calm. If you can't feel your heartbeat on your chest, of course, you can use your pulse, your wrist, or your neck. Just feel that gentle beating. And again, you'll often feel your heartbeat change just as you get this intuitive hit. Your intuition is a subtle whisper within you, while emotions are usually louder and more obvious. So again, I want you to learn the difference between our emotions and our intuition. Pay attention to how each inner voice feels in your body and where it comes from so you can distinguish the difference. Again, that intuition might come from deep in your gut or your heart, while emotions are typically going to arise from outside situations or people, that are shouting at you. Take the time, again, to really listen to both types of signals before making decisions so that you can ensure you're trusting your intuition instead of reaching solely on emotion. So I have a couple of comparisons between fearful thoughts that we really want to ignore and intuitive thoughts. So fear feels heavy and dark versus intuition that feels light, like a natural first step. Fear feels emotionally charged and frantic and urgent, whereas intuition is unemotional. When I heard those weird words, don't unhook the leash, it was just straight out, just straight facts. There was nothing emotional about it. And so also fear feels unsure and vague. Intuition is usually crystal clear. Fear makes you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, confused, and anxious, versus intuition that's calm, inspired, and you have a sense of resolution. Fear causes you to ruminate. You get lost in cycles of thought, whereas intuition is often spontaneous and it arises immediately and it feels right without further rational thought. So another way to cultivate your intuition is to, again, trust your inner gut. As I said, it's not easy. It does take practice. And after a while, you'll be able to recognize that when you're feeling intuitively guided and then be able to take actions on those insights so you can move forward with confidence in any situation. It's a deeply personal journey, often filled with wonder, discovery, and growth. And as you grow in that confidence, you'll be using your intuition more and more. It should become second nature to you. And as you get more success in checking in with your intuition, you'll do it more often, and you'll be quite surprised at that. So another option, too, is we want to create some space. I want you to seek solitude, silence, and stillness, and take some time for yourself. Get away from listening to others and listen instead to ourselves. This will give your intuition breathing room. And this will help you hear that voice. I want you to clean up what you're consuming. TV, news, turn it off, social media, podcasts, etc. Take a break and stay away from things that don't uplift you and things that pull you away from your truth. A fourth way to cultivate our intuition is to have some spiritual practices. So, of course, you guys are ahead of the game. You're here in church. And when we cultivate spiritual practices, whether it's through meditation or prayer or mindfulness or simply spending time in nature, we create this space for our intuition to flourish. When we learn to listen to our inner voice, to trust it, and to act on it, this is where we get our confidence. In this way, spirituality and intuition become partners on our journey towards self-discovery and growth. Get in touch with your higher self and then ask a question. You can ask anything you want to know to your intuition and obviously expect an answer. Spend time again with an open heart listening for that answer to come. Be patient because it might not happen instantaneous. And I didn't even ask that question when I heard that voice. But when you ask, your intuition will respond. Also, you can, before you go to sleep, you can ask a question, and that might prompt an intuitive dream as well. If you're not meditating, I urge you to start meditating. Meditating can actually change your brain waves and help you have your mind open for clear messages. One way to become more intuitive is to work with your chakras. If you don't know what chakras are, they are energy meridians that run down our spine. And in the West, we recognize 7 of them. Other places, there are more, but those are the main chakras. When your chakras are aligned and balanced, you become a full open channel to hear those intuitive hits that come through. And this, again, will help you move forward and be confident in your choices. Intuition is mainly associated with the third eye chakra, and that's located right between your eyebrows. If you suffer from negative thinking, overthinking, anxiety, you might have a block. Sometimes these chakras can be blocked. There's many ways to unblock them. You can find them online, but one way is through meditation. You can do literally actual meditations for unblocking chakras through Reiki, yoga, and even acupuncture can help in that. In this slide, author and life coach Cheryl Richardson says, "The more I trust my intuition and act on its wisdom, the more extraordinary my life becomes." So I have 2 ways that intuition can help us, and the first is through everyday decisions. Intuition, as I said, can help you in every aspect of your life. There's endless examples out there. It can arise in moments before a crisis, directing you to do or not do something, and sometimes these could have life and death consequences. Many people have intuitive feelings of dread or joy before making life decisions. I had one once before I got married, the first time. I wasn't going to say, I'm taking a page out of Reverend Bob's book. I wasn't going to say this, but has nothing to do with my beautiful husband now, but I had intuition before I got married, and I couldn't stop it. Sometimes weddings are so huge, and there's this momentum. And, of course, it didn't last, so it is what it is. Okay, sorry. I went off on a tangent. But intuition can emerge in everyday situations, such as you get a feeling like, what's wrong with my partner or my best friend? Or something doesn't feel right. You might walk into a room or a situation and you get that feeling. Or it can guide you to what present to buy someone for their birthday, what route to take to work to avoid traffic and such. You can use it in parenting. How many of us have heard of a mother's intuition, right? You can use it in investing, health concerns, sports, creative arts, real estate, travel, job interviews, both as the employer and the prospective employee. You can use it working with others, teaching, etc. The list goes on and on. One of my favorite ways to use intuition is trying to figure out the plot to a book or a TV show or a movie. It used to drive my dad crazy when I was young. We would sit and watch, this will date myself, but Ironside, like this suspenseful, I think he was an attorney, right? And we'd race each other to figure out the plot. and I would always get it before him. Another important aspect of your intuition is for safety. There are countless stories of people who have made life-saving decisions based on their intuition. Soldiers, firemen, policemen, doctors, nurses, they use it all the time, assessing the situation in an instant. Gavin de Becker, I don't know if you guys have heard of him. He's written this book. He is actually the leading authority on personal protection. In this book called The Gift of Fear, it's fascinating. He says that intuition is a cognitive process faster than we recognize and far different from our familiar step-by-step thinking we rely on so willingly. He goes on to say that intuition is nature's greatest accomplishment. I would call it God's greatest accomplishment. The human brain is never more effective or invested when its host, meaning us, is at risk. Then intuition is capitulated to another level entirely, at a height, he says, which can accurately be called graceful or even miraculous. I once read a story about a woman who was about to catch a flight, and she had this gut feeling that something was going to happen. So as she was boarding the plane, she stopped suddenly in the boarding area, or in the, what's the terminal? Jetway, thank you, John. In the jetway, and she wouldn't let anybody else go by. People argued for about a minute, and they kind of regressed, and suddenly there was a massive chunk of concrete that fell from the terminal building, and it fell on the back of the plane and crushed it. So no one, fortunately, was in the back because this woman had that feeling, and she prevented people from, either getting injured or killed. I read another account by a man who said, "My mom and my sister were at the Boston Marathon the year of the bombing. They were cheering on my mom's cousin who was in the race, and they were on their way to watch the rest of the race at the finish line, when suddenly my mom's sister stopped in her tracks, and she said she knew something bad was going to happen and that they should just leave and go home instead." So they did. They got on the train, they headed back home, and when they were on the train, that bombing did happen. They didn't even know what had happened until this gentleman who tells the story called his mom crying because he saw it on the news, and he was relieved that she was not a victim of that terrible tragedy, because his aunt saved them from that intuitive feeling. Another way intuition can help us is by overcoming our doubt and fear. Again, by trusting our intuition. I know it's not easy. We live really in a world that values logic, data, and external validation, right, John? My scientist husband. We're taught to second guess ourselves and to rely on facts and figures rather than feelings. And yet some of the most profound discoveries and decisions in history and scientific breakthroughs and acts of great courage have been guided by intuition. One of the keys is self-awareness. Self-awareness is the foundation of recognizing your intuition and trusting it fully. As I said, it's not easy to do at first. You might want to practice with small things, like when you go to a restaurant, looking at the menu, what's going to be the best choice? You can use your intuition to hear that and make those decisions. Then when you get a little success under your belt, so to speak, you'll start to be more confident. Here's a story from September 11th. A woman said, "My neighbor worked in investment years ago, and it took him all over the country to large businesses as a consultant. He was supposed to meet a company on September 11th, 2001. And they were located in one of the Twin Towers. My neighbor felt something was off that day, and he and his wife had had twins, and so he opted out of that business trip and stayed home with his wife and newborn twins. If he had gone, he would have indeed been in one of those towers on that day. And he says it still haunts him to this day that he was saved by not going." I have another story about a young boy who trusts and listens to his inner voice. He said, "It happened after a play rehearsal. I was leaving my high school. I was stopped at a red light, and there was a small hill to my left. While I was waiting for the light to turn green, a conversation I had with my father popped in my head. It was a story he told me when I was younger, when I was first learning to drive. He said when the father was 17, a car ran a light he was at 100 miles an hour, and looking before he went saved my dad's life. When the light this young boy was waiting at turned green, my gut told me, look left. And suddenly, a car appeared over the hill and sped right through that red light at 80 miles an hour. He says, if I had pulled forward, there's no doubt that car would have hit me on my driver's side. He said, there's no doubt in my mind that my father, remembering my father and son talk about my dad's near-death experience, saved my life. I've been in touch with my intuition for many years. At first, ever since I was young, it was kind of perplexing. I would know things were going to happen before they did, or I would know or sense something about someone without any explanation. I would know when to call a friend or family member at just the right time. Or I would know who was calling on the phone. And this was long before caller ID or cell phones. I would often know when someone was going to die. I know it sounds weird, but I would be told to pray for them. And it wasn't to change that outcome, but to pray for acceptance and preparation. Don't worry, I didn't actually tell the person. I don't think it's my place. But I did let others know in case there was unfinished business that they had with them. Sometimes when I tell people that, they're like, I don't want to be your friend anymore. At the end of 2012, I knew it would be my mother's last Christmas, even though she wasn't that ill or expected to die. My brother lives, my mom lived in Florida, in here, right close to us. But my brother lives in Manhattan, and I told him he should come home for Christmas that year. Fortunately, he did, and she did pass in the January of 2013. When I was in my 30s, I kept having this nagging feeling I was going to be in a car accident. I was unfortunately aware of how to prevent this, short of not driving anywhere. It wasn't helpful because I didn't know when it was going to happen. And sure enough, not long after that feeling, I did have a car accident. Fortunately, there was no injuries. And then in 2011, I was sitting in traffic and stuck in traffic, nowhere to go. I suddenly heard or knew I was going to be hit from behind. I had enough time to look in the rearview mirror to see it coming, have my foot hold the brake, and say a quick prayer. Unfortunately, I was injured and still deal with that today. Perhaps I should have jumped out of my truck. But I now know to surround myself in light and pray the prayer of protection. Think of the bubble like Reverend Bob talks about, surrounding your car and all those around you. When I began practicing Reiki on people, I would hear things. I mean, I wouldn't generally, this was a casual situation. Sometimes we used to have healing services here at church. I didn't know anyone's history. I would just lay hands on them, and I would hear things about their condition and problem. I had no idea what the messages meant, but I did pass them along. There are many famous examples of intuition. In October of 1940, during the war, while Winston Churchill was dining at number 10 Downing Street in London, that's where the official residence of the Prime Minister is, one evening, the moment was interrupted as a German bomb landed near this location. Churchill told his staff to leave the kitchen and get away immediately. And shortly thereafter, another bomb fell exactly where his staff would have been. So Churchill's intuition saved their lives and the people he cared for. In 1950, a man named Bill Allen was the CEO of Boeing. This was when the company was strictly making planes for air defense, the air industry, and the defense industry. And Allen had this crazy intuitive idea that he would build his own commercial jet that would serve what he was sure to be a booming industry, civilian air travel. So he bet the future of Boeing and convinced his board to risk $16 million on a new transcontinental airliner, the 707, and that move transformed Boeing and air travel as it is today. In this slide, author Sylvia Clare, who wrote the book Trusting Your Intuition, she says, intuition means exactly what it sounds like, intuition, an inner tutor or teacher or teaching that learns, and learning mechanism that takes us forward daily. It's a resource that we're recognized as infinite potential. Here's an example of listening to intuitive dreams. This woman says, one summer, my son was set to attend a week-long student training 5 hours away from home. A friend offered to take him along because their son was attending a sports event near there. And so then her son planned to get a ride back with 4 other friends who lived about 40 minutes west of this woman who's telling the story. She says, the night before he left, I had a dream he was killed in an accident coming home. I told him in the morning that I would be picking him up from camp, despite his protests. On our way home, sure enough, she picks him up. We came upon an accident near the county line that happened moments before we got there. Before I could pull the car over, another son who was traveling with them got a nosebleed, so she continued on home. The next day, they learned the van involved in that single vehicle accident was the car her son would have been in had she not listened to her dream. And one of the most profound personal stories of intuition I've ever witnessed is from my daughter, Nicole. She's incredibly intuitive, and she uses her intuition constantly and in many aspects of her life, in both work and at home. When her son, Ryder, my grandson, was young, maybe about 4 years old, he was scheduled to go to swim camp. One night, Nicole had a dream that he would drown at that camp. So she didn't argue with it. She listened and pulled Ryder out from the camp, and he did not go. It does turn out that another child did drown at that camp. Fortunately, he was revived, but it was an incredible lesson of listening to our intuition. In this next slide, the last slide, from Proverbs 1:5, let the wise listen and add to their learning to let the discerning get guidance. So I highly recommend for those who want to go further and listen, have their intuition on demand as opposed to it just popping in your head. I read a lot of books on intuition. Those 2 I talked about and a couple others I have up here. A cool one called Second Sight. This Dr. Judith Orloff is quite well known in mystical writing and in intuition and things like that. But I highly recommend this book. If you want to learn steps and how to get your intuition to react when you want it, it's called Intuition on Demand, a step-by-step guide to powerful intuition you can trust. It's written by a woman named Lisa Kay. She's a PhD, and she is a teacher on intuition. You can find this on Amazon. This book will help give you steps in getting in touch with your intuition. So in conclusion, I want you to remember that each and every one of you listening has the ability within to tap into your amazing superpower, intuition. And this power can enhance decision-making, improve personal safety, and empower us to live more connected, aware lives. We learn to recognize and trust our intuitive signals. We enrich our daily experiences and move to a safer, more fulfilling life. So next time you feel that little nudge or gut feeling, listen. It just might be your inner protector speaking up. All right. So we're going to prepare for meditation. We'll just take the lights down a little bit. All right, so as I begin this meditation, I want you to get comfortable in your seat. I want your feet firmly on the ground, your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. Let's take a nice inhale in and release it out. We'll take another inhale in, and we'll go ahead and let that out. I want you to keep focused on your breath a few more moments and let your body relax. So your breath comes in and it goes out. Like the tide comes in and the tide goes out. So from this place of full relaxation, shift your focus to your heart space. Perhaps place your hand on your heart and feel its steady beating. I want you to breathe slowly with that beat. Stay slow, even if your heart is a little faster. And now we want to bring our attention to the space between your eyebrows, that third chakra. It's the place where your soul meets your physical body. It also provides the wisdom necessary to access truth beyond time and space. Now I want you to see a beautiful green light emanating from your heart space and merging up to that third chakra. See that light, see that beautiful green. And now, focus on the third chakra with a blue light. Blue is associated with this chakra. It's penetrating that space between your eyebrows, mixing now with the green from the heart chakra. And we're going to visualize a new color. We call it cyan. It's like turquoise, like warm water in the ocean. Visualize that going through that third chakra into your skull, all the way in there. Feel a tingling sensation as you bring your focus to this area. Feel it expanding bigger and bigger. You might even feel a little buzz of energy in that forehead. Go deeper now into this sensation, connecting to your intuition. Now I want you to think about an area in your life that you would like guidance or clarity for, and form a question that can shed light on this question, this intuitive answer for you. Ask for that answer to be revealed. No expectations. Be open to any information you receive, anything. Notice any thoughts that might arise. We won't censor them or process them with our rational mind. Just let them come. Let them come without overthinking. Even if it doesn't make sense right now, just note everything that comes up without judgment and tuck that away. And if it feels right to do so, you can ask more questions. Don't force the answers. Know that your intuition will communicate in the perfect timing. Your intuition has heard you, and the answers will come. Now relax your mind and focus on that space between your eyebrows once again. And let's take 3 deep breaths. And out. In. And out. And with each inhale, we're going to breathe in that light. And we're going to exhale worry and fear going out. And I want you to repeat now silently these affirmations. I trust myself and the voice that speaks within me. All that I need to know at this moment is revealed to me. I am always at the right place at the right time. My intuition effortlessly guides me. My intuition guides me to everything that is meant for me. I am wise, intuitive, and connected to my inner guidance. I am one with the highest intelligence that guides my soul. And so we say, thank you, God, for this amazing miracle that is our body. We are grateful for all it gives us in connecting to you. We go forward with confidence, knowing we are designed to be in touch with this inner knowing. And now let's take one last deep breath and exhale and come back to me now. And if our usher will come forward. We'll begin with our offering. So, if you're here in person, our usher will gratefully take your offering. If you're online, you can go to the homepage at the end of service. You can donate through PayPal, credit card. You can send a check to the office. You can use Zelle. If you're going to use Zelle, you need to use the email, which is unityorlando@gmail.com. Or you can call Linda for assistance. She likes getting your calls. Thank you for your offering. It really does make a difference. And now we're going to do the offering statement. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. And now I'm going to turn it over to Brian. I wonder what this song is.
Thank you, Susan. Very nice. Let's give her a round of applause. That was really good. I teach classes on intuition all the time, and I learned some stuff.
Okay, cool.
Good. I did like about the flower man.
Mm-hmm.
He probably ran like lightning.
Yeah.
Because you know what comes after lightning.
A thunder.
Yeah.
Good one, Brian. That's good.
All right. Here's a song that's not called Illumin Guidance, right? It's called Illumin Nature.
I
expect the unexpected, anticipate the anticipated. I understand by intuition the right time is now. Sitting in the divine position, illuminate my recognition. Now everything is divine tradition that lights my way. Illumine guidance is what I trust, and I'll be provided with love I must. Illumine nature, omni-creator. Open up the heart's door and come in to explore. Come into my heart. Let this loving part be my nature. To heal this loving heart, be my nature. To hear this loving heart. I expect the unexpected, anticipate the anticipated. I understand by intuition the right time is now. Sitting in the divine position, illuminate my recognition. Now everything is divine tradition that lights my way. Illumine guidance is what I trust, and I'll be provided with love I must. Illumine nature, I'm the creator. Open up the heart's door and come in to explore. Come into my heart. Let this loving part be my nature. To heal this loving heart, be my nature. To hear this loving heart. To heal this loving heart. Ooh. To heal this loving heart.
Wow, thank you, Brian, for that. So how it usually works with the songs is Reverend Bob will give his talk title, and Brian will intuitively pick the perfect songs. I fortunately have the ability to know what my talk was, and then I match the songs to it. And that song was perfect about illumine nature, which is intuition. So thank you so much for that. And I thank everyone for supporting Unity Orlando, for those who come in person and those online. Without you, we don't have a church. So thank you for that. Next Sunday, Paul Kenny will be speaking, and his talk title is The Fabric of Our Soul. I'm looking forward to hearing that. So if you would all rise, we're going to pray the prayer for protection. Let everybody stand up. And we say, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us wherever we are. God is, and all is well. So God bless everyone online.